do a little bit of talking here about converting your Freeride, your Summit X, your older Expert to a 32-inch front end. I have parts here. It's a pretty a parts list. It's a pretty extensive parts list. There's things that I feel like you can reuse, like wearables, to try to save some money, and there's things that I would say are somewhat optional depending on what you're trying to get out of this. And of course, there's the big ticket items like shocks and stuff like that. But I'm not going to go through this whole entire list. I mean, pretty much it's upper lower A arms, suggested new A arm bushings, which those are just plastic. Upgrade them to the bronze ones if you want to. Your spindles, you got, which also need bushings, right? You got your sway bar, your levers, your bushings for that, which the sway bar is stiffer on the new one. The spindles are going to be 18 millimeters taller. But like whether or not you need the spindles, that's going to be up to you because I mean, there's people like Brett Rasmussen who is selling shortened spindles, right, to the aftermarket guys. He thinks that that's better to keep your center of gravity lower to the ground versus Elevate, which I personally like. You know, by Ice Age, you can buy a set of spindles for $645, and that's going to be an upgrade that's going to raise your front end 1 inch anyway. Sway bars. A lot of people disconnect their sway bars. Now, I did have a chance to ride my Expert on the trail, and I will say that that 32-inch front end, that stiffer sway bar, is actually very complementary to that narrower front end. So while you could get away with your stock sway bar, $65, get the proper sway bar that's a little bit stiffer for that Expert if that's something you would like to do. And then the extra stuff that comes in here, like sway bar lever, the sway bar like link, like you don't need those because you already have those, assuming on your existing sled. Steering post. Now, I mean, if you wanted to completely save like another $500-600, you don't need to do the steering post and the twin link system and all that. But the thing is that's where you're going to get that extra. They claimed like 30 degrees of steering, which is going to make this 32-inch front end work so much better. I would actually like that extra steering on my 34-inch 34-inch front end that I have on my Freeride. So I'm not putting that in the optional column. I think that this is 100% necessary if you're going to go to that 32-inch front end. And then shocks. A quick note here. I've been told that the QS3 Evo will not clear the 32-inch A-arms on these 26 Experts. Whether or not Fox is going to come out with something to combat that, or if you just go with like some straight mono tubes, some Fox Air shocks, or if you have a set of Summit X shocks that don't have a reservoir in them that you like, then any non-reservoir shock will clear on this as well. So just something to notate there. I added up all these prices real quick. I mean, if you're looking at complete retail, what the MSRP is out the door, it's like a $4,771 conversion, including shocks and everything wear items, right? I like Partzilla. I mean, I love my local dealer and they treat me well, but Partzilla has some of the best pricing that I found online. And you can get that whole list for $3,700 off of Partzilla. I mean, that's like $1,000 savings. It's kind of crazy. Assuming that everything's in stock and available. So that's going to be something that you might need to call them and say, well, what's the lead time like? Because I've been told that some of the stuff like the new tie rods that you get with the twin link steering, the tie rod assembly that you get with that twin link steering is going to be hard to come by, at least until January. Let's see here. So Partzilla pricing, if you remove the wearables, right, like the A-arm bushings that you're going to end up reusing and the sway bar bushings, sway bar levers, you come down to $33.70. Okay, so a little bit of savings. Let's say you already have some Ice Age spindles and you're going to keep with this softer sway bar, or maybe you're going to just keep your stock spindles, which is also, there's no problem with that. And they'll work with the new steering. Then you can actually get down to $28.53. So a little bit more affordable. I still don't know if it's worth it at that point. I mean, because the next price tag is, you're going to have to get shocks. And so that comes back up, though aftermarket shocks are actually cheaper than the $812 per shock you pay for a stock KYB that works on this Expert. But this is 100% up to you. Like if you had a Summit X, this would be the absolute cheapest that you could upgrade this, $1227. So you get the A-arms, you get the steering, and you don't get the sway bar. Like the sway bar, I still think is something that you would want to put in there, especially on the Summit X with how floppy it is, with that rear end still being the flex edge track and T motion and everything. But I don't know. I hope that this price list helps everybody. I tried to be as in depth as possible. I could talk for a long time about all this, and I'm going to do a video explaining my thoughts on the 32-inch front end once we get more snow. But yeah, let me know if you think this is a worthwhile upgrade just from the marketing standpoint of what the 32-inch front end is going to give you versus the price tag of doing it versus buying a new sled. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. You guys have a good day.